Imagine being sick from bacterial infection and doctors can't find an antibiotic to treat it. That's actually happening now.
And one of the targets here is farm animals, which routinely get antibiotics to stay fat and healthy. Here's investigative reporter Luke Moretti to tell us more.
This is life or death. This is critical.
Rochester Congresswoman Louise Slaughter is talking about antibiotics and how they are routinely given to cattle to fatten them up and keep them healthy.
It would be like putting antibiotics on your child's Cheerios every morning to try to keep them well.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently sounded the alarm on the overuse of antibiotics, calling it a global public health threat with potentially catastrophic consequences. In the U.S. alone, 23,000 die every year, and 2 million are sickened by bacteria that is resistant to antibiotics. President Obama in September called the rise of antibiotic-resistant bacteria a serious threat to public health and the economy. He made it a top national security and public health priority to control antibiotic resistance and develop new drugs. One focus is on farm animals, which get more antibiotics than people. Mark O'Brien, a molecular biologist at the University at Buffalo, says antibiotics are used to control illness among animals who live in close quarters.
They're genetically very similar to each other, so if one animal gets sick, the likelihood of other animals getting sick becomes very high. And therefore now many farmers, especially large-scale farmers, will feed antibiotics to their animals.
The CDC says animals serve as carriers of resistant bacteria. The bacteria can contaminate the food that comes from those animals. People who eat those foods can develop antibiotic-resistant infections. How much antibiotics do animals get?
It took us an arm and a leg to finally wring out that answer, but 80% of the antibiotics that are produced in the United States are fed to livestock and cattle.
Since 1999, Slaughter has been pushing a bill to save 8 classes of antibiotics to fight infections in people.
Now the lobbying against the bill that I have is so intense that 88% of the lobbying last year done on this bill was opposing it by agribusiness.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration recently enlisted the food and drug industries to voluntarily reduce the use of antibiotics in farm animals. Giving antibiotics to prevent or treat illness would need a veterinarian's approval. While she's happy to see the attention, Slaughter says the FDA's action is just not enough.
When we finally got some attention from FDA, all they did was say, we'll give you 3 more years to voluntarily cut down on use of antibiotics. They have no way to keep records of it or even determine it's being done.
She says consumers need to have a say.
I don't think the American public is nearly as aware of it.
The industry says it supports the FDA's call for the judicious use of antibiotics. A spokesman for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association said using antibiotics for prevention is important to our industry, as healthy animals are the key to a safe product for the consumer. Patty Lavera from Food and Water Watch says the FDA has left a loophole that will allow animals to continue receiving antibiotics to prevent illness.
They made a big announcement saying you can't use them for growth promotion anymore. And that's good. They shouldn't be used for growth promotion, but what they didn't do, there were 2 loopholes and they only closed one. And that second loophole is wide open.
So how can you protect yourself? It starts with safe food handling and cooking to the proper temperature. Both are important whether you're eating organic meat from animals raised antibiotic-free or conventional meat. Now, what beef buying alternatives are out there for you to choose from? We'll tell you all about that coming up tomorrow at 6. Luke Moretti, News 4.
And there is much more on the antibiotics issue on our website. Go to WIVB.com and look for the Your Food tab. You can also add your comments to our continuing monthly